Welcome to the Sales and Marketing for Decorators podcast with me, John Mears. And today I am joined by an industry giant, spraying legend, author. It's Pete Wilkinson. How are you, mate?
Not so bad, John. Good to be here.
Good. Thank you for coming on. I think I've mentioned you in a couple of shows so far, and I've been very keen to get you on for one of these because, you know that I love what you do and reading the books and stuff like that. And I want to talk about something today. Should decorators specialise? And obviously, I wanted to speak to you specifically about this because it's something that you know quite a lot about, and obviously you've written a book about it, which we'll talk about later. But just give us a little bit of a background into you. And you are Mr. Fast and Flawless, the spray man. So specialising has been very important to you and your career. Tell us about how all that started and how you see the key benefits of specialising and how it's helped your career.
Yeah, okay. So obviously I served my time as a decorator at a local company, and we did the company did the full range of work. And then sort of in my late 20s, I got a job teaching painting and decorating at college. So I taught the full range of skills. So I do actually have a full range of skills at my disposal. So I can, not only can I spray, but I can wallpaper and I can grain, I can marble, I can do most things decorating wise. But then about sort of 5 or 6 years ago, I decided that I wanted a bit of a change from college. So I went part-time, set up back on my own on the tools. But this time round, I decided that I was going to specialise and just focus on airless spraying. So not just spraying, actually really more focused than that, airless spraying. Now, back then, it's not like it is now. Nobody really knew what that was. So I got some business cards printed up, Pete Wilkinson Decorators, airless spraying specialist, and spent probably the first 12 months explaining to people what it was. Which is always quite good, really, because people like to put you into a bit of a pigeonhole. So if you sort of introduce yourself as a decorator, people automatically pigeonhole you. They've got certain expectations of how much they're going to pay you, certain expectations of what you're going to be like, and all these kinds of things. Well, I didn't have any of that. I sort of had an opportunity to carve out their expectations. And then as it sort of progressed, people started coming to me because of my specialism and because of what I did, the fact that it was faster and the finish were better, and everybody was starting to see the benefits, but they didn't really know where to go apart from me. So the workload started to get like unmanageable, really. It got to the stage where I just had too much work. So then it's a question of picking and choosing customers, just working for the ones that are willing to pay what you're asking. And I've always been quite fair with my prices, but I exceed my college income, put it that way, and that's what I wanted. So yeah. And I do that, no problem at all. So yeah, that's been my experience of specialising, really. And I look at lots of decorators out there who are all self-employed and they're sort of trying to carve out a business for themselves, and they're trying to do everything because that's what their company did. But you see, their company might have had 20 people, and each one of them people will have been specialists. The company did everything, but individuals didn't. And I think to do everything as an individual is very, very difficult. You need kit, you need wallpapering kit, you need spraying kit, you need all the different equipment for all the different jobs. Plus, you never really get slick at something that you don't do every day. So you're never that slick at whatever you're doing if you're doing a little bit of everything. So I think you don't quite enjoy your work as much because you're not that slick, you're not as fast, so you don't make as much money. So I just think specialising has so much going for it.
That's a very good point about getting slick and efficient at something. I'm forever seeing posts in forums, in and around decorator forums, where it's blah, 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 blah. I haven't done XYZ decorating skill in 6 months or so a little bit rusty. What's the best materials for this nowadays? What's the best tool for that nowadays? And I think it's very quick. People can get left behind on certain skills, but you keep offering it because you feel like you need to offer everything because you don't want to turn down any work. You're like, well, I can do marbling, I can do graining. So let's offer it, and then it comes up all of a sudden. You're like, oh shit, I can't quite remember how to do this again.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And you end up taking twice as long to do it and earning no money on the job, and you think, oh, what was I doing there, really?
Well, that's right, and you're stressed while you're doing it because you're not quite sure what you're doing. Whereas I have a really good friend who's brilliant at grading and marbling. He's done it all over the world. So if I ever get any of that kind of work, I send it his way. But the great thing about that is, if he gets any spraying work, he sends it my way. So it's a win-win. We both get to do what we're really good at, and it works. And that's happened with so many people. I mean, I don't really do any wallpapering work, so I'll recommend that out to someone, pass it over to them. And they don't really like doing the spraying, so they pass that back to me. So again, I don't lose out. People think they're going to lose out on work because they're turning work down because it's not in their specialism, but you actually end up, that's not what happens. You sort of, it ends up, you're giving it away to people, and then they give you stuff back in return, and it does really work. Well, that's been my experience anyway.
Yeah, it's that principle of reciprocation, isn't it? It's a very human thing. If you give somebody anything, they have this, they want to return the favor. So you like you say, if I'm out any wallpapering work or any normal painting and decorating work, and they are always going to then have their ears pricked up. They're always going to be on the lookout. This is a job that I could pass over to Pete, and he'd be able to do a really great job here. So how long did it take you to go from that period of time where you're like, okay, so you're going part-time at the college, you started putting your name out, you started carving out your niche as I'm Mr. Faster Flawless, I do the spraying. How long was it from that point when you started to the point where you said you were getting too much work to handle, and you needed to look at different ways of managing things and you know, cherry picking customers and stuff? What was that time frame?
Okay, quite a while.
Yeah,
it wasn't quick. I would say 2 years.
Okay.
It took me 2 years, and I was very lucky. And again, I say this to people: I was part-time at college, and that paid the bills.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in a position where I had to take work. So I could turn stuff down. Although, in fairness, I had work from day one. It just wasn't it immediately wasn't my specialism. And I started getting spraying work probably after a couple of months of putting it out there. I started getting just spraying jobs where it was actually not a decorating job where I sprayed it. It was actually they wanted me to spray. Yeah. And then I started getting bigger, juicier spraying jobs. And then after a couple of years, I was getting some quite big, nice paying spraying jobs. And then as time went on, so after sort of 3 or 4 years, I were getting, that's when it sort of got a little bit out of control, really, where I had to start then managing the spraying jobs almost, and almost specialising within that narrow specialism. So starting to say to people, well, geographically, I don't really want to travel more than 20 miles. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do any work if there's all different criteria that, and I want a deposit, and I started added criteria to what I really, really wanted from the work. And that sort of, and even now, I mean, it's got to the stage where I don't tell people I'm a sprayer. It's got to that stage because I know they'll offer me a job straight away. So I sort of keep it quiet really now. I've gone the opposite way. Whereas where I really promoted it at the beginning, now I sort of try and keep it quiet. It's very difficult, right? But there you go. It's amazing. Like we obviously offer training now, and the company that we rent the unit off, the landlord came in to see me the other day. Just something like a landlord thing. I can't quite remember what it were about. When he came in, I actually had a kitchen spraying course running, and he went quiet, and he said, "Oh, you spray kitchens?" And I said, "Yeah." "Oh, we need our kitchens." And immediately, and I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I'll do it," because obviously he's my landlord, so I want to look after him, kind of thing. Yeah. But it's got to that stage, which is quite nice. It's quite a nice thing. But and I tell this to people. It's not because it's, people always say, "Oh yeah, it's all right for you, Pete." It's because it's you. It isn't because it's me. I'm me because I specialised, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It is the other way around. Anybody can specialise and get known for that specialism. And we only have to think about it in our own lives. If you're going to buy something, you know, you would rather buy something that's made by. So a classic example is, I like Taser tape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I like Taser tape because it never lets me down. It's nice to use. But the other thing about them is they only make tape. They make 4,000 different tapes for every industry. That fills me with confidence. That.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing to say to customers, well, actually, this is all I do. And people think, well, he must be good because that's all he does.
Mm. Yeah, this is it. And this is something I talk to. There's a lot of decorators now. Funny you mentioned kitchens that are starting to specialise in kitchens. Some hand painted, but a lot spraying and spraying off site. And I think that is one of those things. It's like you were talking about price at the start, because nobody knew what a sprayer was. You didn't get pigeonholed. You could carve out, you know, well, this is what you're going to pay for a sprayer. I'm not a painter and decorator, basically, and it's the same with people that choose to specialise in kitchen refurbishment. You need to then stop looking at it as, well, it's going to take me 3 days. I'm going to charge a day rate of 160 quid because I'm a decorator. You got to think, no, I'm a kitchen specialist. I'm a kitchen refurbisher, and I'm a sprayer. This is a specialist skill. And what's the alternative? Buying a new kitchen for 10, 15 grand? Well, surely, yeah, you could do it for half the price. So what if it takes you 3 or 4 days to do it? You're still offering a fantastic service at a great price.
That's exactly right. And there's another side to that as well, John, that people forget about sometimes. But if someone's got a £40,000 kitchen, and people do have, then that's a big risk to put in the hands of someone that they're not quite sure what they're going to do. Yes. Whereas if you're a kitchen specialist and you do two kitchens a week, then they're going to have a lot more confidence that you're not going to ruin their kitchen. And the other thing is, if you go in to paint the kitchen and you go in at a really low price, oh, I'll do it for 300 quid, then they're immediately, someone with a £40,000 kitchen will immediately think, no, that's not enough. They will think that. They won't go for the cheaper price. So you know, I think you've got to, I think what specialism does, especially with kitchens, especially on the higher end kitchens, is it gives the customer confidence that you aren't going to ruin their kitchen, which a painter can quite easily ruin a kitchen.
Yeah, I think it's the same. You can compare it to cars, can't you? I mean, if you had a Rolls Royce, you don't take it to Dave the mechanic down the road who'll do it for 50 quid. You take it to a Rolls Royce approved dealer, or if you got a Merc, you go to a Mercedes-Benz approved dealer, because yeah, it costs more, and you know it will cost more than getting your mate to do it, but you know it's being done right, and they're not going to ruin it. And yeah, that's exactly, yes, that's a great way of putting it. It's that exact point. If I had two quotes in front of me, I wanted my kitchen, my £40,000 kitchen done, and one was a painter and decorator saying, yeah, I do the odd kitchen, and I'll charge you 500 quid. And I've got one from a kitchen specialist who turns up and says, this is all I do. I do kitchens all day, every single day. They could be 1,500 quid. And I think, do you know what? I want to go with the specialist because I want to make sure it doesn't get cocked up, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
No, perfect. So let's talk a little bit about this 2-year transition. So I think that's a great way to do it, to build it slowly and to build it right, which is obviously what you did, and that's ultimately what's led you to long-term success with it. So how would, obviously you had the college wage to fall back on, and that covered your bills, like you said. So let's look at it from an everyday decorator, painter and decorator. They're currently offering pretty much anything. They've got a good range of skills. How do they start going into their niche? Let's say they want to be spraying and they want to be a kitchen specialist. How do they start going, right, I can't afford to be turning too many jobs down at this point. So I will do the odd wallpaper job and I will do the odd Mrs. Jones's front room. How do they start slowly and steadily building that kitchen specialism? Any tips on that?
Wow, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's trickier if you're in that position, but I think if you've got a base of customers that know you as an all-round decorator, but you obviously want to move into specialism, then what I would do is I would change my marketing to focus on the specialism first. So I'd stop telling people I'm an all-round decorator, and I'd start telling people. So let's use wallpaper as an example. So it's different to what I've done. So I would start telling people that I specialise in wallpapering. Now, at the same time, I would brush up my wallpaper skills. So, you know, I'd maybe, I don't know, I'd brush up on my wallpapering skills, however you want to go about that. And then I'd start looking at the wallpaper market, looking at what, I mean, the wallpapers could be a big one, I think. It could be a lucrative one. Well, people sort of don't think about it as a specialism because they see it as difficult to do, and they see it as something that they might struggle with, and they see all these things. But all these things are the reason to specialise in it. You know, spraying was the same. It was hard and people were scared of it. Well, that's why that's good, because it frightens the majority of people off. So the few people that do it do really well out of it. So I'd start brushing up my wallpapering skills, however I do that, and I'd start promoting that. So if you do have a marketing effort, whatever that is, so if you've got a website, change your website so you're a paper hanger. If you've got a business card, change your business card so you're a wall covering specialist. Start talking to people that employ paper hangers. So for example, one of the things I did, and not very many people do this, but it worked really well for me, I just approached decorating companies and I said, if you need any spraying doing and you've not got your own sprayer or you've not got your own equipment, I'll do it for you. Right, Pete, we'll take you up on that, definitely. And I got a lot of work that way. And then it got to the stage where a lot of decorating companies that I worked through would just pass the client directly on to me. They just say, oh, Pete, you can have spraying bit. It's, you know, deal with them directly. So I pick that work up. And that will work with paper hanging because lots of decorators don't want to do paper hanging themselves, but they would sub it out to someone who specialised in it. So what that does is it starts building up your skills. It starts, you're doing it more and more and more and more and more. And you start making contacts and you sort of get a feel for the specialism as well. So I know now, if I want to pick up a big spray job tomorrow, I know where to go. I know who to ring. It's easy peasy. I've sussed the whole thing out. And the same's true for wallpapering. So you'd suss that out as well. And you'd know what kinds of companies get wallpapering done, what kind of decorators you could subcontract to, and you'd suss it out.
I think wallpaper is a great example because I'm sure you've seen it as well. It seems to me that the price of wallpaper, more the amount of designer brands and the amount people are willing to spend on wallpaper nowadays is going through the roof. And if you're spending 200 quid a roll, or you could easily spend in a couple of grand in wallpaper. Yeah. Nobody's going to want to hang that themselves because they don't want to balls it up. But secondly, like you say, a lot of decorators won't want to do that because they haven't hung wallpaper in 6 months. They don't want to, cock up 200 quid a roll wallpaper because that's all their profit's gone. That's right. There is, a massive thing for massive chance for people to specialise that. And again, it goes to the same point of if you had two quotes, one from a decorator who says, yeah, I also do wall coverings, and then you look at another person's website and they are, I'm a wallpaper specialist, this is all I do. Well, you're going to go with them, aren't you? Because you just spent a hell of a lot of money on wallpaper. You want to get the professional to do it. And I think that's, and the other thing that's reminded me of is wall murals. I know that I read, we'll talk about your book in a bit, but you mentioned that as one of a potential specialism for decorators. I think that's an absolute goldmine for someone to pick up and run with it. Pasting these wall murals, because you can get them. The print quality is now fantastic and so quick and so simple. There's a chap in your building, isn't there, who does it?
He does it. The thing is, with the mural side of things, people want bespoke. They want things that only they have. Yeah. So you'll get people. what a lot of people don't realise so Paul calls it one-piece wallpaper, one-piece wall coverings. So he can basically do any image, any size on one piece. So if someone wants a pattern on the chimney breast, he can print that, and there's no joins, and they have it on the chimney breast. And if they're thinking about spending 150 or 200 pound a roll on that kind of thing, then Paul can do it cheaper than that. So it's cheaper, it's easier to hang, it's harder wearing, and it's really, really good money. I mean, you can make really good money installing it. So I think that's a massive market, and I don't think it's just massive for commercial people. So like things like hotel receptions and all that kind of stuff, they love it. It's just perfect for them. They can have their company logo on it, and it just looks, it's got the wow factor. I think there's a massive domestic market for it as well. And the good thing about the domestic side of it, it's completely untapped. So at the moment, nobody's doing it. Nobody at all. So if you set up doing that, you've got no competition whatsoever. So they're like, oh, I like this idea, Pete. It's brilliant what you're offering. Wow, this is amazing. How much will it be? Oh, well, you know, typically I charge for an install on a chimney breast, I'll charge 250 quid. Oh, wow. Well, you know, we'll think about it. Might get some other prices. Well, good luck with that, because there's only me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're in a really, really strong position. Now, obviously, as the market matures, and I think it'll take probably a while for that to happen, 10 years perhaps, 15 years maybe. It doesn't matter, because after 15 years, you've been doing it for so long, you've got the reputation of, well, people were doing it in 2021, you know, it's like you've got that. So you can't, it's a win-win. It's just looking for things that are up and coming, really, and specialising in that and getting good at it. And the thing is, you'll automatically get good at it. And the other thing is, as well, with those kinds of things, if someone's prepared to spend £200 a roll on wallpaper, so and it's 10 rolls, so it's £2,000, they can afford you. It's as simple as that. Because if they couldn't afford you, they wouldn't be spending £2,000 on wallpaper. So they might play hard. They might play hardball when you go and price it. Oh, blooming heck, Pete, we didn't expect it to be that much. But really, they're just playing hardball. They can afford it, because it's like the Rolls Royce analogy. If you can afford a Rolls Royce, you can afford the Rolls Royce service, can't you? Otherwise, you shouldn't have one. Simple as that. Exactly. So it's the same thing, really. I think as decorators as well, another trap that we fall into is we see the world from our own point of view, and we see the world from our own income level. And that's not how our customers see the world. And I think we need to sometimes remember that, and we can think, hang on a minute, they can afford this. And again, I'm not talking about ripping people off. I'm talking about charging a fair market price for what we do. But yeah, I think you've got a lot more leeway if you've specialised in something like the murals. And another thing that Paul does as well, which is really good for decorators, is if the decorator buys directly from him, he'll give them a discount because they're a decorator. So as an installer, they'll get discount on the product. So there's a little bit of margin there as well. So that's 20% actually, which is quite good. So you could make money literally just selling the product. You know what I mean? You could, if you got a hotel chain that said, yeah, we'll have one of these in every foyer, and we've got 30 hotels, and each mural's £1,000, then you know I can't immediately do the maths off the top of my head, but it's good.
You've there's a couple of points that I thought interesting from that. As it happens, yesterday I was Googling about wall murals, and when I looked for it, 4 or 5, and I was looking for images of them for a blog I was writing. When I did it, 4 or 5 websites came up, you know, love to murals and this, that, and blah, blah, blah. But now you mention it, not a single advert or link came up for anyone saying, I will install that mural. It was just
supply.
Yeah, it was just, okay, you can buy this lovely Disney princess wall mural. But yeah, certainly on page 1 of Google, there was no one saying, I'll come and install it for you.
That's right. And a lot of the ones that you buy, there's 3 types. So the cheaper ones, like 100 quid, which are just really, really thin paper, very, very poor, not very durable, very difficult to hang. generally in a number of pieces, let's say 12 pieces. So you've got 12 joins going both ways, by the way. So it's almost impossible to get a perfect image with one of those, no matter how good you are. And then there's another type that's more durable, but has still got joins. So they're spliced. The image has got like bleed on it, so it's designed to be overlapped and cut through and spliced. They're quite expensive, but there's always the risk of the splice not working or the splice splitting and opening up. And then there's the one-piece murals, which are only slightly more expensive than the splice ones, but there's absolutely no chance of the joints opening up because there aren't any. The image is absolutely perfect, so the illusion doesn't get broken. So when you Google murals and you get those 5 hits coming up, I'm guessing that most of those are the poorer quality ones. And most people's perception of it are those. So when you talk to decorators about it, they'll say, oh yeah, I've done a couple and they were a nightmare. This is what you get back. Yeah. So when you start talking about the one-piece ones, they don't really understand what you're talking about. So they're like nodding and yeah, Pete, yeah. But when I actually show them the actual real thing at the academy, it blows their minds. When they see it for real and touch it for real and see no joins and see how tough it is, they get it then. You've got to see it to believe it almost, you know, to actually properly, for the penny to drop. So yeah, but it's early days for that particular specialism. So it's a harder job because you've got to work that little bit harder, educating people about it.
But I think from a marketing point of view, this is the other thing about wall murals. They're an absolute dream. You put a before and after. Well, it's difficult to say a before and after because you've got a blank wall and then you've got this perfect bespoke image. You put that on Facebook. You never have to advertise again because one single post, you're going to have everybody in your town going, where can I get that?
Definitely, yeah. Brilliant for marketing without. And the other thing, of course, John, don't forget, is like I do a mural at Julie's house and she tells all her mates, oh yeah, oh my God, look what Julie's got on her wall. That's amazing. Oh my God, there's no joints, blah, blah, blah. Because they've never seen it before, you see. Yeah. And people are like that with anything that they've not seen that's amazing. They go on and on and on about it. So, he's gone.
You've lost me. I'm still here, don't worry.
That's all right. So they do the marketing for you. You know, and that's what happened with me with the spraying, because what I would do is I would spray their woodwork to a finish that they'd never seen. And they told all the friends about it. I never had to say a word. I got phone calls and people would say, are you the guy that sprays woodwork? So I knew that somebody's been going on about it and showing people. And so that's a great place to be, because all you're doing is educating people. And then once somebody gets it, they go, oh yeah, and you do it for them, then they sell for you.
Yeah.
And that's a great position.
And they want to sell it as well. They want to show it off to all their friends, don't they? Particularly something like this, especially when you've got those hidden benefits that perhaps people aren't expecting. When you go, look, it's actually durable as well, so it is perfect for the kids' room. And this is a photo that I just took on my phone or something like that, and now look at it, it's there. There's so many benefits to it, and yeah, I think particularly wall murals I say wall murals, and it often comes out war murals. I was like, yeah, it's not war mural. Anyway, wall.
We know
murals.
What you mean, though, John. We know what you mean. Yeah. That's the main thing.
Wall murals. One of the other big benefits of it. We talked a little bit about price earlier, but I think when specialising in general is brilliant because you will get super good at pricing, but something like kitchen spraying, wallpaper hanging, or wall murals, you could almost be, I don't think there's much to stop you from giving pretty accurate estimates just from photos, maybe a virtual video call or something like that. So you put a post on Facebook and then someone messages, goes, where can I get this? And you go, right, well, this is how much the mural cost. And if your wall is 10 meters squared, it's a minimum of 250 quid, say something like that. Or it's £25 a square meter for anything over that. So if you want a 50 square meter wall, you times that by 25 and that's your price.
That's exactly right. So people can price it themselves. Yeah. With very little risk. So you can say to someone, measure your wall, Let me know how big. Send me a picture. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
And you can give them a price over the phone. You can say it'll be this much and it'll be this much to install because it's more or less cast in stone. Now, I've chatted to Paul about this, and what he says is sometimes when he goes to do the install, the wall's not great. Okay, it looks all right on picture, but when he gets there in reality, it's not great. So what he does is he puts like the paste the wall lining paper on the wall rock. He wall rocks the wall. Now, he can wall rock a wall in 45 minutes. It doesn't take long. He'll chuck that in for free. He'll just wall rock it and then put the... Now, the thing is with wall rock, because it's non-woven, it's not soaking or anything, you can actually paper straight over the top of it. And a lot of people don't know that, but you can. So you can just do your install. It's on a perfect surface. The customer's got what they see as an extra thing for free, which they have effectively. But what it means is you don't have to worry too. I mean, obviously, if the wall's a disaster, but if you've asked for a photograph, you would see that in a photograph. If it was a real mess, you could say, look, your wall's a real mess. You need to get that replastered really before we put the mural on. But if it's just a normal wall that looks good in a photograph, then you can handle it in reality. So it just makes everything, the pricing's easy. There's no going to look at it really. You don't have to go, they just send a picture. It just simplifies. It simplifies it. And it's another interesting thing with pricing. And it tickles me this because you'll see people talk about pricing per square metre. And they say things like, oh, it's complicated. There's lots of factors. And there are lots of factors. I agree with that. I understand what they're saying. But if you're specialising, you're narrowing it, you're simplifying it.
Yeah.
And you're simplifying the price as well. And the thing is, it averages out. So if I priced for murals per square metre and I did 1,000 customers, then maybe on 100 of them, I were a bit cheap on that really because it were a bit of a pig to do. And on 100 of them, I made a bloody fortune because it went on in 2 minutes. And it would average out over all the jobs. And I think that's how you've sort of got to look at it. You know, you've got to look at pricing in that way. It's like a constant, you know, you win some, you lose some kind of thing. As long as you're in the ballpark and as long as you're making your yearly money and, you know, as long as things are sort of panning out, I think you're doing all right. I think you can overthink it with the pricing thing.
Yeah, I think when you're doing the same thing every single day, then it's much easier to have that better perspective on it because, you can often look at pricing as a decorator and think, oh, it is a bit complicated. But then you look at it as go, well, that's because no job's the same, really. One day you're doing woodwork, one time you're hanging wallpaper, then you're painting a ceiling, and it's all different. So there are loads of different things to think about, and that's what I think decorators think it makes it very difficult. But if you're doing wall murals every single day, it's so streamlined. It makes it easy. And I think the other thing I've just written down is this is ideal for something to add to your business because realistically, I think you're going to be able to hang most of them in a morning, aren't you?
Morning, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the perfect sort of thing that you can either slide it in on a weekend if you have to, or do it alongside other jobs when you've got a little bit of downtime. Yeah. So it's the perfect route into specialise. And so you had your college wage to fall back on. You built it slowly. Well, there's no reason why any decorator couldn't build slowly on this side of things. Definitely. And as you say, even if you want to set up a different website and get some different business cards, a different social media handle, all of that can be done for a couple £100.
That's right. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would do that. I'd have a separate name.
Yeah.
Wall Mural Wizards or whatever, some separate name.
Yeah.
Set up a separate website, like you say, it's cheap as chips nowadays, separate Facebook page, a separate identity that you're behind. And then every time I talk to customers about murals, this is what I specialise in. Your ordinary customers that you've always, they know you. You just, you can mention it to them. Yeah. In fact, your customers that you already have, you could do them a deal. You could say, look, I'm specialising in murals. If you want one, I'll do you a really good deal and I can use it on my social media. And they'll say, oh, all right then. And then you do it. They're blown away by it. They tell all the friends. But obviously the deal is because you can use it on your social media. So, I think that could work.
So many decorators rely on word of mouth and are very proud of the fact that they get all of their business through word of mouth. So I think you could just almost set it up as a second business and just go, right, well, my original all-round decorator business, that will look after itself. That will stay busy enough, even if I'm not doing heavy marketing with it. So let's just focus 150 quid a month or something like that. It probably doesn't even need to be that much. You could do a lot of it just on free social media and stuff like that. Let's focus my marketing efforts on this for 6-12 months and then see where we are. And look, exactly what people say to you. Oh, it's easy for you, Pete, because you're the spray man. You're Mr. Fast and Flawless. Well, in 10 years' time, someone in this country is going to be in your position, and they're going to be Mr. Muriel's. And it's going to be, oh, it's easy for you because everyone knows you're the Muriel person. Or it's like, well, yeah, that's because 10 years ago,
exactly.
I did something about it when it was hard for people.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
and if people just get that from this podcast, if you just get that, the fact that if you carve yourself, and there's thousands of specialisms, that's the other thing as well, because people say, oh, it's all right for you, Pete, because, you know, you thought about spraying, like, you know, you knew it was going to be big. No, I didn't. I didn't know anything. I just picked it as a specialism because I knew the best specialisms are the things that people don't know you can do. So I'll never forget, I sprayed some sash windows and to a fantastic finish. And the guy come out and he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, I've never seen anything like this before in my life. So he'd never seen it before. So it blew his mind. And so things like that are brilliant as specialisms because people have never seen it before. You're educating them. They think you're amazing because you're doing this thing they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Spray plaster is another good example of this, although spray plaster is starting to evolve a little bit now. It's sort of a little bit further along. But, you know, I talked to people sort of 2 or 3 years ago about, oh, yeah, you can spray plaster a ceiling. And they go, what do you mean? Spray plaster, what does that actually mean? Well, what it means is you spray it on with a spray like that, so 2 minutes, then you just level it out, done. Oh, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Why aren't more people doing it? Because people always say that to me, and it's like, I have no idea. Yeah. I actually have no idea why more people aren't doing all these things that I can think of. Yeah. And another thing that people always say to me is, oh, when I chat about specialisms like we are doing now, people say, if the mural thing's so good, why don't you do it? Well, because I'm spraying.
Yeah.
I can't do everything. There's only so many hours in a day. You know, I've decided to do that. But I can still see opportunities in other things. I just can't do them all myself. It's impossible, isn't it? So that's, you know, that's it really. You've got to find, and everybody's different as well. So some people would absolutely love doing spray plaster, and some people would hate it. So I mean, if you're one of them that hate it, it's not for you then, is it? It's not your thing. But if you're one of those that think, do you know what, this is right up my street, this, oh my God, big contracts going in, fantastic, right up my street. Well, it's perfect for you then, isn't it? Get on with it, do it. And it's another one that's good for decorators because it's almost a process that sits in between plasterers and decorators, but it's more alien to plasterers because the product's more like a filler. So it's decorators are more comfortable with it. And I know because I've shown both plasterers and decorators how to do it, and it's the decorators that take to it easier. And they're like, oh, wow, this is great, this, isn't it? Yeah, and the other great thing is you're going to paint your own plaster. So how good's that? That's great as well. So I mean, but there's loads of things out there like that. That's just 2 or 3 that I've come up with, you know, from experience kind of thing. But there are lots of things.
Yeah, I think the spray plaster is something I'm keeping an eye on because I think because decorators take to it that bit easier than plasterers. It's got. I think ultimately it's got to merge with decorators. So your decorator, the finisher, will be doing the plaster and the paint, and it will be a more efficient service because you haven't got the decorator sanding down the rubbish plastering because they're going to do it perfect because they're the ones painting it. I don't know who will moan about on social media. I suppose we'll have to all the decorators will have to direct it to the chippies or something like that.
I tell you what, though, John, it's an interesting one, this, because we always view things in one direction.
Yeah.
And I'll explain what I mean by that. So I've had I've had really good plasterers learn how to spray paint because they're sick of crap painters ruining their plastering. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And I've had really good joiners learning how to spray because they're sick of shit painters ruining their work. It actually cuts both ways.
Yeah.
Painters hate following crap joiners, but good joiners hate it when crap painters follow them.
Yeah.
It cuts both ways, and I think we forget that. You see the world from your own point of view. There are good plasterers out there. There are good ones, but unfortunately, there's too much work for them to do it all. So it draws in your lesser skilled ones, and them are the ones that we feel like we follow.
I might have to covertly sneak into like a joiners or a plasterers Facebook group and just say, "Oh my God, they're horrible about everybody else." Just say, "Oh yeah, it's the same jokes, but just
the other way around." That's
exactly the other way around. Yeah,
it's exactly right. It's funny, really, but sort of obvious because in any trade, so you get 100 decorators, you're going to get 10 really good ones, aren't you? Most of them will be average, and 10 will be crap, and that's the same with every trade, obviously.
No,
so
makes sense. So let's before we wrap up, let's talk about what is the name of the murals chap that's in your building, because I think, especially if he's offering like a 20% discount, I think that offers a real incentive for decorators. Because at first I was looking at it as, well, you've got no real risk because you can just say to the homeowner, order the mural from here, pay for it, get it delivered, and then I'll come and install it. But you could also then say, all right, if you don't want to do that, then you pay a deposit and I'll order it. I'll get a 20% discount. Now I'm quite keen on. I had this chat with Trevor Mangan the other day about decorators. I think they should keep the discount that they get, but be transparent with the customer and say, the reason I keep that is because if it's wrong, I've got to go and take it back. If it turns up and it's in a state, then I've got to deal with that. There's the travel and this and blah, 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 blah. There are admin-y sides of things. So that's why I keep that 20%. But whether you want to do that or not is probably a different thing. But yes. So what is this chap's website? And
so it's Vista Digital. Vista Digital.
ISTA.
Yeah, digital. .co.uk, I think. And the chap's name's Paul Feather. And obviously, you know, people, if they're interested, they can message me and I'll send them Paul's details. But he's pretty easy to find. He's in our unit. So, you know, we've got the academy at Preston. Paul shares our building. So, you know, they can come in. If they're local to me, they can come in and have a look at some of the stuff that's up on the walls and see what it's like, see the quality of it. It
is superb. It is. Well, usually at this point, I will ask for a final verdict on the original question, which is, should decorators specialise? But I think we're quite comprehensively, we've agreed on this one.
Yeah, we're sold on the idea.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's interesting as well, John, because I've had the odd chat with decorators on social media about this, and not many come back with many negatives. So odd ones will say, I'd get bored doing the same thing all the time. Now, that sort of makes sense to me. I can sort of relate to that, but I've not got bored doing the spraying. So you'd think, wouldn't you, after sort of 5 or 6 years of it, I'd be bored of it by now, and I'm not. So I don't know whether you would get bored, because I don't know. And then others say, like, oh, you know, I like customers want everything. They want me to give them everything. Well, of course they do, but tough. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, Pete, I need a window changing. Can you do that? Well, no, because I'm not a joiner. Well, it's the same principle, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, of course, customers want you to do everything for them, but how much respect have you got for someone that does everything? You know, really, like if you've got someone that does your garden, will fit a window, will do washer on your tap, and do your decorating. You know, you've just not got it, have you? So I think the arguments against specialising, or another argument against it, and this is valid, I think, is that the tighter you specialise, the bigger a geographic area you've got to work. So if you have a really, really tight specialism, you might have to work nationally to find enough work. Now, again, with spraying, I that's not been the case for me. So I could, if I wanted, I could work in quite a tight geographic area, probably 5 miles from my house, and there's more than 5 times more work than I can handle. So would that be the case with murals? Probably not at this stage, because I don't think it's out there in people's consciousness as much. So I think you would have to travel further. And I know Paul travels nationally for some of the contracts he does. But don't forget, he makes really, really good money. It's worth his while. And it's all expenses that he charges to the customer. It's not out of his own pocket. So I think the geographic thing is a valid argument against specialising. But I think if you make the specialist, you can decide how specialised you are. So if you make the specialism, so you could do murals and wallpaper. So that shrink your geographic area down to probably 20 miles. There's enough work in a 20-mile area to keep you busy, definitely. But it's up to you. It just depends what you want. The tighter your specialism, the more valuable you're going to be.
And I think with powerful tools like Facebook and stuff nowadays, so a good example is I set up some Facebook ads for a decorator who is a kitchen specialist. I designed the ad for him, and I was setting up the targeting and everything like that. And he goes, we'll set a radius of 50 miles. And I said, yeah, about this radius. And he goes, well, it could be more than 50 miles if it needs to be. I said, no, I'm thinking about making it more like 5 miles. He's like, what?
Yeah.
And anyway, he wanted to put it more. So we put it at 10 miles. And that 10-mile radius, and then we targeted an age range of like 24 to 64 and women only. And that was still 150,000 people.
Yeah.
And he got 13 inquiries within the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
He could quite easily have done it on a 5-mile radius and been more than fine with that. And I think, I don't know. So I live in a small to medium-sized town. There's about 12,000 people live in my town. You can walk from one side to the other in 30 minutes. And I think a lot of people will. I think that's a pretty average for wherever you are in the country. You've probably got 10,000 people pretty much within walking distance of your house.
Yeah.
And 10,000 people, if you are the mural guy or the wallpaper guy,
yeah, is a lot.
That is more than enough.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
But we're never going to run out of houses. We're never going to run out of. I know some decorators, they'll do decorating projects. They'll do 2 or 3 jobs for one customer a year. In fact, I know a lot of decorators. I asked them the other day, average decorator seems to have about 30 regular clients.
Yeah.
And they do about 10 or 15 different ones. So really, there's 10,000 people within walking distance of my house. And I need probably 50 to 100 of them.
Yeah, so
a year.
Is it? Like that?
Yeah, exactly. It's tiny. And when you start specialising like that, and you hone in your marketing, then you've got one very simple, clear message, and you put it into the local Facebook groups, and you put it on your Facebook ads and stuff like that, and you will quite quickly find there are so many people just on your doorstep that will have this service. Might take a little bit of time to build up. As you said, yours took a couple of years to build it up and do it right. But as with a lot of these things, you can do it half a day here, half a day there, and build it up like that.
I think as well, John, we don't know how lucky we are. Yeah. Being born in an age where we've got access to free media, more or less, that will access all our customers or all our potential customers at a couple of clicks of a button. And it's like someone saying, well, thing is, like, I just use word of mouth. And that's like saying, well, you could use this megaphone and 20 times more people would hear you. No, I'm not bothered with that. Well, why not? Because what people forget, I think, sometimes is if you've got 10 times more customers that you can handle, put your prices up, can't you?
Yeah. Because
you can get rid of them down to what you want, and then you're in a really good place. So I think sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking, well, I've got enough. I've got my 30 customers now. I'm quite happy. Yeah, I don't know. Big companies don't do that, do they? So it's not a proper business approach, really. You're sort of playing at it, really. I think if you want a proper income and you want a proper business that's solid and sustainable and you enjoy and it's giving you good money, You know, you do need to use the marketing skills, the marketing tools that are there. And the thing is, it's just it's just amazing. If you went back in time 20 years and said to people, in 20 years' time, you're going to be able to do this, 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 and this, they wouldn't believe you. It'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. What? You can talk to people all over the world for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's just, we do not realize how lucky we are to have these tools at our disposal. And all right, it takes a little bit of getting your head around, but you've got to use them as a decorator. It cuts you above the crowd. It puts you in the top 10% straight away, I think.
That's it. And yeah, all these tools, whether it's Facebook or anything online, there's so much out there. You can learn them so quickly. Even if it takes you a couple of things. There's a few things that, like installing a Facebook pixel, that took me a couple of goes of going back to it and doing it, because I'd get frustrated and go, I can't fucking work this out, and then I'd come back 2 days later and go, I need to work this out, and then in the end it's just not that difficult, and you do get it sorted, and then the benefits are huge. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, every company I've ever worked for, your database of customers is an ever evolving thing that you are trying to grow and improve, and every year I plan to lose 10 to 15%. Bottom end of my customers gone. They might just leave me, they might go out of business, I might just want to stop dealing with them. And so every year I try and replace the bottom 15% with a new brilliant top 15%. And then exactly 10 years down the line, you're like, oh shit, I'm charging twice what I was 10 years ago. I've got superb customers that all love me.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly right.
And that's all it takes. It's
interesting because I was running a course the other day and we were chatting about this. And I said, right, so you've got 10 customers. So I wrote it on the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in a stack. And I said, and this is fact, this. 20% of your customers will give you 80% of your revenue. So numbers 1 and 2 are going to give you 80%. You could bin all the rest off. And all right, you take a little bit of a pay cut down to 80%. But I'll tell you what, you'll be working a lot less. But what I would do is the bottom 20%, so number 9 and number 10 are the ones that give you 80% of your grief. So what I would do is I'd do 2 things. I'd fire my bottom 2. Sorry, I'm too busy for you. I'd put my prices up, so that I get rid of about 3 of the middle ones, but not my top ones. And then I'd be making more money for less hassle with an easier manageable bunch of customers. Now, no decorator in the right mind would think about doing that. It's like, what? Bin off my customers? Bin them off. Because some of them aren't worth it. They're not worth it. And what I always say, one of my things is that I constantly say is, if you're running a decorating business, in my opinion, you're just trying to do one thing. Build a collection of brilliant customers. That's what you're trying to do. That's your goal. Not work for anybody. Build a collection of brilliant customers that like you, you like them, they like what you do, you like doing stuff for them, they pay you what you want, but, you know, within reason, obviously. And that's the goal. And you'll get the odd one come in, and we've all had them, the customers from hell. Bin them off as quick as you can. I try and bin them off before I get to know them now. I ask a couple of questions, and if they fail at them, it's like, well, I'm really, really sorry, Mrs. Jones, but I'm just too busy. Because they've said a couple of things that I just think, I don't think they're going to be great to work with.
You're absolutely right. It is the customers you make the least money on are also the ones that give you 80% of the grief. They're just the absolute nightmare. And even just cutting those people out frees up so much headspace that you will naturally go out and then replace them with better customers. And they're out there, and I see, unfortunately, it seems to take decorators until they're getting towards the end of their career to find this great collection of customers. And I think it's because as people are growing and going through life and they're having children or whatever, it's like the last thing you'd ever think to do is get rid of a customer. And I guess people get to sort of their 50s, all their kids move out, and they go, "But you know what? I don't need the headache of Mrs. Jones anymore. I'll sack her off." And then they're 60 years old. They've got 4 or 5 customers that, and I've seen it. People talking about it on Twitter. They're like, "Oh yeah, I've just got a great set of customers. I just go and do work for them and just send them an invoice." They're like, "So you don't even quote?" "No, I just do work and then just give them an invoice for what I want." And they're like, "So those customers are out there, but it's not until you've got to 50, 60 years old and perhaps stop giving a shit whether
Well,
you upset customers or not.
The irony of it is, the less you need the money, the more you get.
Yeah.
Because you don't need it anymore. So you're like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, and they think, oh my God, he doesn't need it. So and the more you need it, when you're 20 and you're desperate as hell, people see it in your eyes and take advantage of you, don't they? So and there's no solution to that. It's just, you know, just keep plugging away at it. And if you're a young decorator, then keep plugging away. You'll get there in the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ah, brilliant. Okay, so right, yeah, we've done final verdict. We've done all of that. So tell us a little bit more about you then. So number one, let's talk about the book. So you've got a book about specialising. So what's it called?
Yep. So I've got it here. Look how prepared I am.
Ever the professional.
That's it. The Specialist Decorator. So it's a funny one, this, because it's quite a thick book. I don't shout about it a lot, this one, because it's not part of my Fast and Flawless series that I've got. But it's actually secretly one of my favourite ones, because what I've done is I've actually come up with 23 specialisms. Yeah. Some that I've not talked about, obviously, tonight. And I've split them up into sections. So let me just remind myself of what the sections are. So
I've got to say now that the fact that you didn't shout about this one, I had that exact reaction. So like we were just talking about, because you weren't talking about it, I was like, I've got to get this. And like as soon as it was available, no, I think you even sent me a pre-release copy, and I was just like, and I just read it straight away. And the first thing, I was like, he's not telling people about this. He did. Yeah. So I bet this is good, and it was brilliant. But sorry, go on. Yeah. The sections.
So anyway, I've got a little first section is just about a few pointers on how to go about specialising, business hints and tips, which we've talked about tonight. And then I've got a section on the basics. That's bread and butter stuff, interiors, exteriors, paper hanging, that kind of stuff, typical decorator things. Then the next section is I've done a spraying section, obviously, and I've just picked out 5 things. So things like spray plaster, spraying boats, and a lot of people don't. And I tell you what, there's money spraying boats. Oh my God! I mean, I'm talking seriously. $5 a week money spraying boats, because hardly anybody does it, and boat people have got money anyway. And then I've got the next section is on what I call the money makers. So I've got 4 that I think are the real money makers, which I'm not going to tell you what they are. You have to buy the book. And then I've got a section on if you're a little bit arty. So things like decorative finishes, which I think are making a comeback. Colour and design, which a lot of decorators don't do any colour and design element to the business, and I think it's a missed opportunity. And just a few others for the arty ones, because there's quite a lot of arty decorators that love doing the arty stuff, and there's 1 or 2 markets there. There's one particular one that's big in America, I mean huge in America, and I was reading an article about one chap that does this, and he makes more money than a lawyer just doing this one little specialism that's big in America, but it's never heard of in this country. So yeah, that's what I've done, and I've put it all together. It's typically for me, it's dead easy to read. It's laid out really easy. There's lots of pictures in there. They're not coloured, because that makes the book about 30 quid. But you know, I've tried to keep it nice and easy and accessible for decorators.
No, it's brilliant. I read it, and I think I messaged you after I finished reading it. It was one of those that you read through it, and every chapter, every specialism you mention, you're like, I can't believe he's just giving this away. It's like it's almost like you've just given me some magic beans, and I'm just like, oh my God! Like literally, if I was a decorator, you could just pick any one of those specialties, and you sort of you even give like suggested company names and stuff like that, and slogans and stuff. I'm like, he's doing it all for you here. And I'm like, okay, brilliant. So superb book. So we can pick it up from Amazon, can't we?
Yeah.
Perfect. And tell us a little bit about the academy as well. So what do you guys do there? You've got a lot going on there at the moment, haven't you?
We have a lot going on, yes. So obviously, you know, I'm part of Paint Tech Training Academy, and we started off offering spraying courses for people. And people told me we're mad for that, by the way, as well. They said, you specialise in spraying. Why are you teaching other people to do it? They'll take all the work off you. Yeah, whatever. But anyway, I've done it anyway. But what we're doing now is we're expanding our offerings. So we're offering wallpapering courses now. We offer mural courses, of course. We do spray plaster courses, and we've been doing them for quite a while now. 3 years we've been offering them, so we're pretty good at it. And we've started. We've just developed a pricing course, as emotive as that is.
Yeah,
we've started doing a pricing course because I think that's another big weakness in our industry, but we've not got time to talk about that tonight. But there you go. So yeah, it's all good, really good times. We've had some good guys on the course. We get some really good feedback. We get people that keep coming back, so we can't be bad.
Yeah, and you've got it's all tied in with CITB now, isn't it? So you can get grants for the training and stuff.
That's exactly right. So we're really lucky, really, because Tracy was senior admin at the college where I worked, and we know how the game is played, let's say,
Yeah.
and we've got a really good relationship with CITB. So what Tracy will do is she'll fill your form in for you. Basically, you've got to say what courses you want to do. You don't have to do all the courses with us. You can do IPAF and all these kind of things. It's all paid for, and you can claim up to £5,000 a year to spend on courses. So it's a lot of money. So yeah, so it's there. We'll support people if they need help with it. Just drop us an email at courses@painttechtrainingacademy.co.uk or have a look on our website.
Last I heard, Tracy had like 100% record for getting the funding and everything. So
she's got 100%, yeah. But obviously, you know, we it's a win. Everybody wins. CITB win because they get their forms filled out properly. The decorator wins because they get a load of free training. We win because obviously they come to us to do the training. So everybody wins from it. There's no real. I can't see any losers anyway. It's just a brilliant thing. And CITB have got all this money that they want to spend training small businesses, because people like us, self-employed decorators, we're the ones they want to improve us. They want to improve us, and they'll pay for it. I mean, that's it. It's there for the taking if people want it.
It's perfect. So yeah, get on the Paint Tech website, give them an email, get it all booked in. There's so much to learn, and with the CITB stuff, it's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it? It's win-win-win. So Pete, thank you so much for your time, and I think you've alluded to it. I might have to try and convince you to come and do a pricing one or some other podcast at some point. Yeah. I think there's a lot of other topics that have come up.
Yeah, definitely. We should see what kind of feedback you get, John, and we can talk about whatever people are interested in. Really,
sounds like a plan. Listen to what people want. It is that simple sometimes, isn't it?
Definitely.
Brilliant, Pete. Once more, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right, cheers, John.
Cheers, and thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.